Hello, everyone. You're watching Let's Talk About Prepping. I'm Tyler, your host, and this is yet another live stream late at night. My current life schedule and current events have disrupted my normal video making schedule, but I'm planning to get on top of that here pretty soon. But tonight we're just going to have a little bit of a review of the Pabst Blue Ribbon Coffee. We're going to have a little bit of a chat about the mindset that we want to be in moving forward. Now, I'm not a specialist in anything concerning viruses or the economy or any of the interesting events going on. So I don't really feel comfortable sharing my perspectives on those things, even though they are the two most pressing events going on lately, if you will. But I have often talked about the mindset that a person should be in to be prepared to react to situations, to adapt to situations, because that's pretty safe advice to give people, because you're just talking about the mindset that we want to be in. And so that's the kind of stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. Not news, not current events, not my speculation on what might happen or the causes behind things. But first, we're just going to have a little bit of a drink. For those of you who don't know what this is Pabst Blue Ribbon Coffee. It's a hard coffee mixed drink, sort of like the Frappuccino drinks, like a Starbucks can. And it has a little bit of alcohol in it. 4%, you can't even hardly taste it. In fact, you could convince yourself it's not there. And yes, I got my Boogaloo shirt, guys. Those of you who don't know what that is, few of us agreed that while some are putting on their tactical vests and freaking out over all this, the rest of us are just going to get a nice Hawaiian shirt. In this case, probably a little more Hawaii or Miami, but that's all right. We're going to get something nice, chill, and just enjoy the end of the world with something relaxed. Anyways, so the Pabst Blue Ribbon Hard Coffee. No, it does not taste at all like Pabst beer. But this is just something we sell at my store, and I had a little bit of a sip of it whenever we got a sample, but I'm going to give it a try for real now. That's pretty good. Honestly, it's not even that bad for a mixed coffee drink compared to some of the ones that I've had that are out there. And even right now, I can't even identify the alcohol in it. Malt beverage with natural and artificial flavors, contains milk. So yeah, pretty much just a creamy coffee mixed drink. Really good. I can taste a little bit of the alcohol there. Warms your throat a little more than coffee ever should. But if you don't know to look for that kind of warming effect, you wouldn't even notice it. So it's actually a surprisingly good product. I'm not bashing PBR. In fact, I've drank PBR. It's my cheap beer of choice, I suppose you could say. But definitely not my go-to even when I'm drinking beer. And normally I do prefer bourbon or cider. But whatever caused them to want to go off the wall and make a hard coffee, they did pretty well. So I'm going to sip this, and we're going to talk about the mindset that we might want to be in. Now, first, I want to apologize for the constant live streams, because this is not something I normally do. Normally, I like to do a little bit more curated content, something planned, not necessarily scripted, but I do like to show you that I put a little bit of time into things. I do try to stay away from the constant live streams, but it is what I have right now, trying to get content out. So mostly just talk to you guys, because I've got a lot of friends, a lot of family who have been talking to me, obviously, and I want to put something out that is a little more reasonable than a lot of what they might find if they're looking at YouTube and looking at this kind of stuff. Because let's face it, there is a lot of interesting thought out there, I'll say. I don't want to offend anybody, but I think that it's important, especially for those who are interested in entering preparedness, interested in looking at what they can do to react properly to this situation and where to go forward from here. It's important to remember that for those of us who have been preppers, who have been survivalists, who have been doing this for a while, it's important to remember that we are like anybody else on Facebook or wherever on social media. We're in an echo chamber. And it's important to remember this if you're watching this and you're coming into this recently without any background or context on the community where we're coming from. There's a lot being talked about that may seem overwhelming and, quite frankly, sorry guys, crazy, outright nuts. And I'm saying that from the perspective of someone who talks on a daily basis to regular people who are not preppers, and I let them know that I am. In fact, there's a good chance that some of you watching this are people that I've met at my place of work or are family or friends of mine who I openly talk about my preparedness and my preparedness channel with. And this gives me a little bit of a grounding compared to a lot of people in our community who, quite frankly, until this happened, did not openly talk to people about this kind of thing. And a lot of the stuff that we talk about, even just hypothetically, is absolutely nuts from an outsider's perspective. To many people, the fact that there are people in this community who are wearing body armor throughout their day-to-day activities now because of this, they find that to be quite nuts. But it's normalized in our community. And that's just one example. I don't want to pick and choose at that. I'm not pointing anything in particular out at anybody, but it does give you a perspective that a lot of people, and these are people who own guns, these are people who love things like body armor, but it just seems extreme to be at that point. But because of the things we talk about, because where we are, that seems normalized, or it seems like a rational response. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying that you shouldn't necessarily wear body armor at all times. Looks like we got Uncle Al. Took about 7 minutes for the notification to go out. How you doing, Uncle Al? But I mean, if you want to wear body armor at all times throughout your everyday life and you want to go to that level to just make sure that you got that covered, even whenever there's not a virus, more power to you. But this is something that's being talked about on channels, on videos, and people are out there buying ammo and guns because, and this is the discussion that normal people are coming into now that they've come to this for the first time. I'm glad you're still here, still alive, Uncle Al. Good to see you. And again, not casting judgment on that conversation, but for a person who has not been in this conversation before, hey, Thomas Farm, how you doing? That seems pretty crazy, or at least far ahead of the conversation that they need to be having to catch up, if you will. So I just think that one of the most important things that we can be talking about right now as content creators or even audience members in live chats or comment threads is the mindset that people need to have. Because one thing is, it's very hard to give practical advice right now because there are a lot of different people in a lot of different situations. And quite frankly, not all able to get a hold of the same resources. So we can all sit here and make videos about how to improvise certain things, and I think that that's great. I think it's much better than making videos of constant updates of news sources that people have access to, and I think it just, that muddies all the water. But far from, been dark 14 days, far from just trying to make videos to respond to the situation, I think one of the most proactive things that we can do in this community, hey Wayne, how you doing, is talking about mindset. That's why that's the topic for tonight after the hard coffee drink. I really think that one of the most important things that we can try to share with people who are joining the conversation right now is not necessarily our next level analysis of the situation, because let's face it, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, and they all stink. But one thing that can hold true for everybody is mindset, is perspectives. Are you talking? You haven't done videos, Uncle L, or me? Because I have not either. For the people who are joining this conversation, whether you're watching or you're somebody who is a content creator, you're someone who's active talking in the comment sections or in live stream chats, it's important to remember that one of the most valuable things for people who can't get toilet paper, who can't get things at the stores, who are suddenly quarantined at home, quite possibly who are losing their jobs and are suddenly unsecure economically and in various other ways, one of the best things that we can provide for them is mindset, is how to think. Because for many of us who have been in on this conversation for years, it's easy to forget that we have a huge amount of contextual information. And I don't mean that to sound condescending or superior in any way. It's just a matter of that having been your hobby for longer. If any of us were to try to go get into model airplane flying, anybody who has been doing that longer is going to have all that contextual knowledge. But we need to remember that it's much more important to talk about what we can do to not panic, what a person can do to analyze their situation for themselves and formulate their plan. This is why those tabletop exercise videos were so good, because they give a person the tools to analyze their situation and decide what to do for themselves. One of the biggest problems that I have with videos about current events, if you will, and you know what I mean, one of the biggest problems that I have is that almost nobody has any authority to talk about the things that they are simply conversing about. And the simple nature of that is a complete muddying of the waters for people who simply need information on how to make the decisions that they need to make. They're not coming to us. Nobody here on YouTube has the authority to give somebody practical, actionable information, if you will. They just don't. And anybody who suggests that they do, anybody who hints at having some kind of classified knowledge or secret information or something, but hints about it on YouTube, for one thing, is probably illegal if it is an actual thing, and otherwise is usually just blowing smoke up your hind end. But aside from that, nobody who's in their right mind is taking actionable information from somebody on YouTube. But they are having their mindset clouded by it. They are having the heuristics, if you will, which are the things that we use to make decisions at a subconscious level, the things our animal mind puts together and tells us, gives us that feeling of whether an idea is a good one or not. People are making decisions based on things they can't even remember that they've heard anymore because of the hours upon hours of videos of people speculating. And even if you say, I'm just speculating here, I'm not an authority, but from what I see here, this is the shit hitting the fan, and it's definitely going on from here. That is a thing that you have put in their head. We're herd animals, and you have, in some small way, influenced them to think that. And I think that a lot of people are currently not appreciating how much effect that has during a mass hysteria event. Yeah, some have tabletopped it. It just, we didn't ourselves. Hey, Dill, how you doing? Yeah, I think we've all heard stuff like that. And whether or not it's true, everybody thinks that it's okay to simply share the information that they've heard. And that's, I guess, okay in a free society. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not all four things at once. Um, but one of the reasons that I have not made many videos lately is because, for one thing, a lot of the videos that I already have planned seem extremely out of place, especially considering that I want to intersect some of my random videos with videos that are practical and deliver something that is useful to everybody. And lately, it's been hard to produce that kind of content without being distracted by what's going on. But one of the other reasons that I have not made a lot of videos is because I do not want to contribute to people. If I don't have something right now to share that is definitely going to help someone concerning this, I'm not going to share it. While I have thoughts that I think are interesting concerning it, I just do not want to influence someone's decisions unless I'm certain that the way that I am influencing them is a way that I want to be influencing people. And I don't really know how to deliver that to anybody else listening here, except to just ask you, if you're a content creator, to focus on delivering something that's going to help people make a decision, which will usually be vague wisdom or vague advice rather than facts or news or updates or things like that. And if you're an audience member, really be very discerning on what you watch and what you listen to, because that influences your frame of mind. I think that most people would be better off not watching YouTube and opinions on YouTube unless they know what they need to go and learn and finding that information, because you are more likely to distract yourself by just focusing on other people's opinions, on the herd mentality, and, you know, like I said, distract yourself from your actual circumstances just by hearing what everybody else is doing in their circumstances, which are not your circumstances. You're more likely to distract yourself and make the wrong decision than you would if you just didn't listen to us on YouTube and just focused on the practical information that you need to deal with your situation and your own down-to-earth assessment of what's going on in your life with your circumstances. Because at this point, most of what is being said in a lot of types of media is either just good quarantine information, and I'm not downplaying that at all, but also just inaccurate speculation about what's going to happen or what's going on or what it all means. And that last part doesn't help at all, especially because when it does help, it is just such a small portion of the people that it applies to, who are watching, that it is misleading for most. So that's why I think that the most valuable information to deliver to people is mindset, is how to think, how to react, how to analyze what you're looking at in your life and formulate a good plan. This would have dealt with a lot of things like panic buying and just all of the reactions, all of the business decisions that are being made. A lot of it is being made because people didn't have a plan made for this kind of situation, didn't have a plan for how they would think during this kind of situation, and they're reacting purely based on what they're hearing, because that's how we act. If we're not being decisive and discretionary, we react using herd-based instincts, which is what we're seeing in a lot of circumstances or in a lot of situations right now, is people bypassing their higher decision-making, logical, questioning processes and going straight into herd-informed information. The toilet paper and the water is because everybody looked up what to buy in an emergency. That was top of the list. Does it apply to this one? No, but it's the herd thing. And I'm not even saying that like it's a bad thing. It's just a natural part of our nature, but we need to accept that one of the worst things that we can do right now is sit there howling like monkeys, just everybody yelling, alert, alert, do this, everybody run, everybody hide, everybody hoard. Because while those are all practical responses to danger, it's causing everybody to do three different things, and it's all just because we tend to listen to each other whenever this kind of thing goes on. So this has not been particularly actionable for any new person. I don't necessarily think that any of our new followers are in here tonight. They might be rewatching, but I do plan on upping my content creation and focusing it on what a person can do right now, especially if they've just joined the conversation, if they've just become a prepper, if you will. I don't really like that terminology because I don't think that a lot of people who are jumping into this are becoming preppers. Even if they will stay into this kind of thing, even if they will continue to have a whole bunch of toilet paper and bottled water, I think that they may well stay completely out of the conversation from now on. But I do believe that, well, I know for a fact that in my interactions with people, there's been a lot more responsiveness to my preparedness channel. I talk about it with people all the time, but there's been a lot more people who have taken the card, stuff like that. So I do plan on delivering conversation that promotes people just being practical in how they look at things, being practical in how they're responding to things, and using their own discretion, as they already should, to formulate their plan for their life, and not just what everybody else is doing. Because, as always, what everybody else is doing usually does not work for you. That's been my life experience, and it's part of what I live my life by, is not following the majority mindset, if you will. And yes, I'm borrowing that line, if you know Minority Mindset, which is a great YouTube channel. Anyways, that's most of my ramble. I've got a lot more to say about the conversation, more that I might, especially whenever certain passions are a little lower, because there's a lot of people who are getting riled up over this. But one of the main things that I want to convey to people, if I can, without sounding condescending or like I want to sound superior, just don't panic. It's a great line from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The other one being to always know where your towel is. And I do always know where my nearest towel is. But don't panic. Do everything that you can in any situation that you find yourself in to stay as calm as you possibly can. That is quite possibly the best advice that anybody can ever give to another person to save their life, to help them improve their chances in any situation, to improve their quality of life. Do everything that you can to stay as calm as you can in any situation, because a calm mind is the best mind for making decisions, and decisions are what decide our future. So that is the advice that I want to hear other people sharing, because a lot of the other advice is not helping. Be calm, no matter what, whether it's virus, whether it's economy, whether it's people killing each other in the streets. Be as calm as you possibly can. Make calm decisions based on rational logic. That's what I got. That's my golden information for this entire thing, is just, for the love of God's old and new, just stay calm. So that concludes what I have to say. If you're rewatching this, I release you. You don't need to hang around. If you're here and you want to go watch some other valuable content, which I do suggest, I don't like the live streams because there's a lot of good videos out there. People are still making good content that has nothing to do with this. Go watch something besides constant live streams about news that you will forget about in the next day and will be outdated already. So go watch how to do something. Go watch someone working in the garden. Step away from this. Keep yourself informed, but don't just completely immerse yourself in it. Hey, Simply Jan. Sorry if I've missed anybody coming in. I've been on a ramble, but I'm going to be doing a little bit of chat here. I've wrapped up the ramble section of the video, so I'll do a little bit of chat response. We'll hang out. Thank you to anybody who is watching this in the rewatch. You're more than welcome to sit here and watch the live stream section of the video, but appreciate you being here. Anybody doing the rewatch and heading out right now, stay safe. Maybe check the description. If you're after the live stream, I'll put some good video links down there. But anyways, who do we have currently in the live stream? Simply Jan, we got Wayne, Thomas, Dill, Uncle Al, and Josh, looks like. Sorry if I missed any of your chats. Go ahead and re-chat them if you care to have me see them. I wasn't really watching the chat as I rambled. Actually, Dill, I beg to differ. I've got a couple people who at least claim to rewatch live streams, and they actually respond to different parts of it. So kudos to them for at least convincing me. I do plan on having a little notepad here in the future to just make little notes of the time mark for interesting or funny parts in case anybody wants to go and get the highlights, but I'm not quite there yet. Yeah, Wayne, I'll do that. I'll listen to them depending on the quality of the live stream. If it's a lot of just silence or, the content of it. It's sort of hard to just sit there and listen to people reading off the chat and what people are saying, but I'll end up doing it sometimes if it ends up on autoplay and I'm working or just can't change it or can't be bothered to change it. Yeah, I'll rewatch live streams. But I agree with you, Dill. The rewatchability of live streams is very low. But I do try to do the little video at the front. That way, if anybody does end up on it, they've got a little chunk there that will keep their attention that they can listen to. I tell them whenever I'm done. That way they don't waste their time if they feel that that's the case. I do feel that there are a lot of live streams that are a waste of time. I'm not shooting across anybody's bow there. A lot of people, that's their bread and butter. There's a lot of channels that's just sort of what they do, and that's just fine. But for the market that I see myself in, I try to do a little bit more video production style rather than just the live stream. But these are great. I love chatting with you guys. But yeah, it's a different thing, I can sit here, let some of my flaws through, let some of the facade down compared to a video. Video, it's, you try to curate a little bit more, I think. I do, at least. Anyways, for those of you who have joined in, first part of the video, I shared my review of the Pabst Blue Ribbon hard coffee drink. It is not beer at all. It is a malt beverage, but it tastes just like any other coffee in a can, Starbucks or what have you, just coffee, milk with a little extra warmth at the end. It's 4%, and I would never suggest that you do this, but if you were to give this to someone without them knowing it had alcohol in it, they probably would not notice. Yeah, I'm glad you're here, Jan. I'm always glad whenever my regulars pops around. Yeah, dogs do tend to have other ideas and the power to enforce them upon their owners. Well, what is everybody up to this fine evening? I just got off of work a couple hours ago, got home, relaxed a little bit, prepared, and hopped on here. Wayne stocked up on the shock top. That's pretty popular stuff. Let's see, that would be what, the Which shock top? The Shandy? You can't be on the Shandy already, can you? Hey Josh, I see you. I would consider you to be a regular. If I see you on here or I see you in the comments, I consider you a regular. As long as I can recognize your name. Yep, I understand that, Uncle O. I don't know if this is going to be a sedative or a depressant. Not really sure what the caffeine content to it is. I'm willing to bet the alcohol outrules it. Shock Top Belgian Unfiltered. Very good. I didn't figure you were on the Shandy, but it is one of the more popular ones. But that's there. Yep. I do like a good Belgian. Belgians are a very good flavor for ale. When the sugar wears off. Yeah, quite possibly. I drank real coffee pretty late in the day, though, today. Yep, Thomas is around quite a bit. Hi, Desert Pioneer. How you doing, buddy? We're just chilling now. I had a little bit of a ramble at the beginning about mud in the water, if you will, which is how I feel about a lot of videos about the current events. Oh, and I got my Boogaloo shirt, guys. I don't know who here was in Steve's live stream for that, but sorry about the microphone brush. Got my laid back Boogaloo shirt. Unfiltered wheat beers. You've probably had delirium tremens before there, Wayne. How do you feel about that? I actually haven't had the tremens. I've had the Noel, which was really good, but I like a good actual Belgian. Exactly. I realized this. I know that we were talking about Hawaiian shirts, but I figure Miami probably works. And I mean, who can argue with the flamingos? I just picked this up today, thinking specifically about that live stream chat. But while everyone else wears tactical vests out to go to Walmart and get their toilet paper allotment for the day, I think the cool guys are wearing just some laid back, Tommy Bahama. All right. I am having a little bit of internet trouble, but hopefully StreamYard is keeping it going while I deal with my issues. Let me know if you guys are hearing this currently. It is on my list of things to do if the world doesn't end here pretty soon, to get my internet service sorted out. They seem to either hiccup the service whenever you're streaming on it, or it just does it on its own, but it's sort of inconvenient. All right. Thank you, Jan. Appreciate it. So, yep, I think I'll continue with the audio only section. You guys have seen enough of my face, and I'm not doing anything interesting. So, we'll just sort of sit here and chat. Sorry for anybody who did hang out and continue listening on. It will be just sort of a bland chat at this point now, but suffice it to say that the interesting part, what are you going to do with your stimulus if they give it to us? I'm still working, so I don't know if I guess if it's a stimulus, I would qualify, but I've only heard speculation about the stimulus. I've heard more solid stuff about unemployment, just very lenient unemployment, no wait, very lax, requirements essentially. But I don't know about stimulus. I suppose if they want to send me a check, what am I going to do with it? That's going to change day by day, honestly. And I think that that's probably the case for a lot of people. If I say that I'm going to sit on cash, someone's going to tell me I should at least have silver, or the dollar is going to devalue any minute. If I say I'm going to go buy something, then that may actually just be the wrong thing to do. I would probably continue to just fortify my lifestyle, and I'll get to that. Like I've been doing, just continue to buy more of the things that you have, as always. I have disposable income on any given paycheck, but sometimes I tend to get a little tight between paychecks. So I'm not always able to increase my holding on all of my favorite things as I like to do. But as I always say, we all have those things that we want to have in a day-to-day basis. We don't want to go without those things now. We don't want to go without them later. Random example for me would be my aloe vera juice, which wasn't at the store last time I went there. Funny little anecdote for my store adventures. So I usually do keep 2 or 3 gallons of my aloe vera juice, which is a berry flavored, pretty natural, I think. I looked at it. I haven't done any background research in the deep web to find out if the company isn't very natural, but it's a good aloe vera juice that helps calm your stomach. I get coffee stomach because I drink quite a bit of coffee. But I'm walking back there to go buy some of it, and I see a guy with it in his cart. And I'm like, oh, yep, that old guy's got some aloe vera juice too. I get back there, and there's none left. It did cross my mind that if I really wanted to, I could probably just go grab it out of the guy's cart. But guess what? Not that kind of guy. But, I just stood there for that moment going, that's exactly how that happens. But that's all right. I do have a little bit left over. I wanted to try to keep my 2 or 3, 4 gallons holding up where it was, maybe increase it to 5, as I always try to do, but not today. What would I do if I got a decent handful of money? If my tax money comes through, if I get a stimulus, I would probably try to save a good chunk of it, like I always want to try to do, and then I would continue to spend it into the different little ways that I tend to spend money. So, yeah, Jan asked about IRAs. I am not a financial advisor, and I've never played one on anything. But yeah, no, that's all I got for you. I really just do not have the contextual information to give you something that I think you would feel comfortable working with there. But I do know, yes, that like Wayne and HTP have said, it's been cashed. A lot of holdings have been cashed out by many people. They don't like what the economy is doing. It's too chaotic. I know plenty of people in my real life, if you will, because you guys might all be part of some kind of Truman Show simulation that I'm the subject of. But in my real life, the people that I know, where my boots are on the ground, if you will, they're investing while the market's low, getting in on the ground floor. So I can't say I'm not tempted to do that, but at the same time, I also have a lot of people saying that this is how they take your money by dropping the markets low and then having you buy in so they can get your money from you. So, you know, um, anyways, there's me muddying the waters for you. Someone took a half gallon of milk out of your friend's shopping cart. That's, well, and I'm not even going to say it saddens me that I'm thinking this way because, at work, I went ahead and took all of our extra toilet paper out of the bathroom because we keep, 3 or 4 rolls on the cabinet behind the toilet. We have antibacterial hand soap in the gallon jug that sits on that cabinet behind the toilet so that we can go ahead and restock stuff. Or if we, heavens forbid, let the toilet paper run out, somebody could grab it. And yeah, I was like, well, I guess we can't leave that kind of stuff just sitting in there because someone might throw it in their gigantic purse, if you will, or under their coat. And all right, Thomas, thanks for hanging out. You have a good night. Rest well. But yeah, we are at that point where people looking for opportunity to do the things that they wouldn't necessarily do on a polite day. A lot more people are looking for that opportunity. Yeah, that's not good, Uncle Lau. What happened to your car? Yeah, Jan, it is a little crazy in places. I have everywhere that I've been lately, it's been pretty quiet, or at least it's been busy, much busier than it would ever have been at that time, because I usually go in either late at night or early in the morning. And I'm always surprised by how many people are there lately, but hack in the box. That was a pretty funny misspelling there, Heaven's Essentials. Yeah, that's exactly why you guys probably, I don't think anybody here follows my Instagram, but I went ahead at work. We have one of those little price guns that spits out the little labels that you can put on items. And I went ahead and tagged a bunch of the toilet paper rolls on. We have 2 rolls there. I tagged a bunch of the sheets on one of them at 99 cents per sheet. Just as a little bit of a gag joke for anybody who goes in there. And man, I really cracked myself up with that one. I'm not going to lie. Really, Uncle Al? Well, hang them high if you find them. That's not legal advice. Yeah, guys, it's pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I thought of that, I laughed for longer than a person should laugh. I'm uncouth, but that's where we're at. I think that that's where other countries have always been. Japan, for one thing, has never had the culture to have paper products provided. You have to provide that stuff for yourself, and often they don't provide waste baskets in places where Americans would expect waste baskets. So you carry your stuff out as well. They just don't have. We've built the infrastructure to provide and dispose of those things. It's built into the costs of so many businesses to provide and dispose of paper products and things like that because of how we have evolved our systems and how we expect things as consumers. But we're sort of at that point where, yeah, if you provide toilet paper, you might need to charge it proportionately to what what the value of that thing is to you. Still too good to eat gluten-free stuff. So you topped off on a lot of variety comfort items. There you go. Well, that's the funny thing is, well, it's just funny to see what people do buy and what people don't buy. We've all had this conversation constantly today, I'm sure. But for one thing, I work, for any of you who don't know, selling things. I sell beer, wine, vape products, cigarettes, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, business is booming right now. I just got off work a couple hours ago, and it was one of our busier days, one of my busiest days. And almost every single customer, hey, how's your day going? And then we jump right into it. Hey there, Wandering Ranger, how's your night going? And every single person, it's their version of the story of what's going on, how it's affecting their work life. I get great intelligence, by the way, from having conversation with people. This is the content, this is the subject of one of my future videos. If you guys don't talk to normal people about stuff, I openly talk to people about things that I think a lot of preppers would not broach the subject with people. But just for the sake of seeing how they respond, seeing what their input is, and for my own, sake of getting information from people, hearing what's going on in their lives, what's going on out there, not just from people who share the same opinions already, like here in the YouTube prepping and homesteading preparedness community. But I've been hearing, the same thing from a lot of people. And what's funny, one of the conversations that I've had with a lot of people is the things that people buy are not the things that were originally threatened by the situation or which they needed to respond to the situation. What do I mean by that? Toilet paper is made all over the place. Multiple places in the United States make toilet paper. I mean, I would almost be surprised if every state doesn't have a pretty decent sized toilet paper manufacturing capability, or at least within every region, like the Northwest, Southwest, blah, blah, blah. We've got toilet paper. Toilet paper, don't quote me on this, but I don't think toilet paper was threatened by China not manufacturing anymore. I might be wrong. But I don't think bottled water was going to go away because China stopped manufacturing things for a few months. Or even necessarily because of a general work layoff. I don't know. And I don't necessarily think that you needed those things in such amounts to respond to the situation. I'm not the first one to say this. You know what people are not currently purchasing? Electronics. I went to Walmart this morning, and we still actually, there's a lot of food there. But all right. Good to hear, Uncle Al. I hope you rest well tonight. And always feel better than you did before, I guess. All right. Catch you later, Uncle Al. Anyways, you know what part of Walmart was not busy at all? The electronics section. And people have not been spending, if you will, air quotes, spending outside of making those necessary stock up purchases. People have not been spending on other things. And this is something that I've gotten from a lot of my customers as I talk to them throughout the day. Necessities, things like that, people are doing. But even things that they would normally consider to be necessities, like car maintenance, they're not getting done. Or just work on their cars, different things like that. New construction, new remodeling, stuff like that. I noticed that a lot of construction projects have a lot of people working on them. Like they all want to hurry and get as much done or as many hours in as they can while they can. But I've heard from a lot of people that nobody wants to spend money that they don't absolutely have to right now. And I think that that's great advice. People have not been buying coffee. And that is one thing that could be threatened, not from Asia per se, but just if there's a backup in international shipping, which I think we should just expect with all the unusual purchases that have been going on. I wouldn't be surprised if coffee gets left off of a ship or out of a truck shipment for the sake of toilet paper. So yeah, we might see random other stuff just completely disappearing from the store in lieu of this other stuff being put on the trucks or on the ships or whatever. But aside from that, the thing that I've been chatting with people is Um, the electronics, the things that are actually coming from China or came from China until now, those are sitting on shelves. Those are actually even sometimes being discounted because the stores want people to buy them because no one is. And while that makes sense, people don't want to go buy TVs and stereos and charger cables right now because they need that money to go buy toilet paper with. Those are the things that might actually disappear. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see any Chinese made electronic products for the rest of the year if they're not already here in a warehouse or somewhere else in a warehouse where they can be shipped over here. Um, China has not been producing very much. And one thing, I feel very sad for the Chinese people because things have not been going very well for China. I know that they are our economic rivals. I know that a lot of us don't really like China, but I think that we can have sympathy with the Chinese people. They have had what was it, like 50 or 60% of their pig population had to be culled for that pig epidemic that they had right before this. We've had the trade war. We've had their Chinese New Year, which is always puts a damper on their economy. And then segueing right out of that, we've had this entire thing. So it is not going to be a good year in China this year, I don't think. And I feel very bad for them over that. Just thought I'd throw that out there. I don't hear it talked about very much, and something worth mentioning. But for our American perspective, we're not going to be seeing anything if you have something and you can look at the back of the package and it says made in China. There's a good chance that you might not see more of that on the shelf here pretty soon. I mean, we all know that, but we sort of think that we're reacting to that by buying toilet paper and all this other stuff. But it might be a good idea to stock up on charger cables or HDMI cables or just random stuff like that. If you're the kind of person who likes to resell things at a higher value or just make sure that you got that kind of stuff, imagine the year without charger cables for phones. Imagine a year without auxiliary cables or just TVs to be purchased. A lot of people would be pretty upset. I mean, that sounds a little trivial, but I bet on any given day, thousands of TVs are purchased for all of the people's new apartments or whatever have you, because something happened and one broke. Like, yeah, no, I absolutely agree, Wayne. I'm not saying people should be prioritizing electronics over food and these necessities, especially if those things do stop coming. I mean, I'm not saying that that's just not possible. We all know that that's absolutely possible, and every single crazy thing. Sorry, give me 1 second here. All right. Yep. Every single thing that happens, every little red flag that we have, every step towards the edge, yes, it brings us closer and closer to there being no more food on the shelves, and even in the future. But my current perspective, we all hope that this is the high watermark and things get better from here. Obviously, I think that if we're following the China mark, we still probably have a little bit of storm to get through here before we start seeing the quarantines helping or whatever. Well, now, Jan, I don't want. I know I'm not saying that you're just doing that because I said so, but I don't want you to necessarily just go buy that kind of stuff just because I said that would be a good thing to do. It's just a funny thing that I wanted to bring up because those are, we originally, the concern over purchasing things, at least in my mind, was because China is no longer making them, right? Maybe I missed the memo on that one, but that was always my thought was, I mean, obviously there's a pandemic and a lot of the hand sanitizer, all that kind of stuff, that makes sense. And then you get I know that the media was telling a lot of people to react to this like it was an emergency. And so people go look online how to prepare for an emergency, and most of those things are aiming towards natural disasters. So they say water, toilet paper, stuff like that. This is, I mean, it's just an organic progression. But to me, aside from your basic necessities, the thing that you would want to be purchasing are the things that come from China and will not be coming from China. Your dog got sick. Oh no. Well, that's no good, heavens. Oh, Jan, your dog got sick like incidentally on the floor, or like has developed an illness. As for Heaven's Essentials, oh, your sister. I'm sorry, I'm mixing up. Okay, so your sister hasn't been able to get her migraine meds for 3 weeks. Is that because of this? And has she tried anything alternatives? I mean, I'm sure she has. Nobody doesn't try alternatives. Even just maybe increasing her caffeine intake, or I don't know. There's not a lot. If you have really bad migraines, not a lot. Your dog threw up. Okay, that's what I interpreted, Jen. That's never a good thing. Especially on carpet. I'm sorry. She was that ganja. Ganja is the alternative for her. I know somebody that bought a couple 15. Somebody bought a couple 50-pound bags of potatoes, dug 2 holes, and used a toolbox as a liner to put the potatoes in to act as a natural root cellar. Left the extras out to sprout and plant. Hey, I mean, that sounds pretty good. I don't see any reason why that shouldn't work. Cats throw up all the time. It's a minefield when I come down in the morning. Yeah, Ranger, but at least cat throw up tends to be a little cleaner, a little easier to clean up. It's sort of, I mean, you know, sorry for the graphicness there, but you know, a little fluffier and not as, you know, readily absorbed into the carpet, I suppose. Yeah, heavens, that is the alternative for a lot of people. So especially in areas where it's recreationally or medicinally available. But yeah, that is the go-to alternative for a lot of people for multiple things. So I was going to say CBD, but because that's the more generally available one, but compared to migraines and multiple other, afflictions, I suppose CBD doesn't necessarily have the umph to really, kick it. But a lot of people do use it because that's what they have, and it helps them. So but yeah, I like that, Wayne, with the potatoes. Um, and that's one other thing. That's actually one of the more valuable things. Being prepared, being yeah, nothing really does kick migraines, Wayne. Um, save some seeds for your seed bank. You never know the future. Well, absolutely. Heaven's Essentials. I definitely think that cannabis is a valuable uh, part of the prepper pantry and seed bank, if you will, if it's legal for you to do so. I mean, you You can ask any smoker, and the seeds come with it for free sometimes. Not anymore if you're getting it from the shops because they curate it, but I know that you always used to get seeds. But heck, stepping back from just cannabis sativa, you've got hemp, which is just a valuable crop. In certain jurisdictions back in colonial times, you had to grow hemp if you were a farmer. It was sort of a mandatory crop to a certain extent because the Navy required it for rope. And so many farmers were more or less required to pay their tax or their what have you in hemp ready for rope. But hemp can be used to make rope. It can be one of the most productive biofuel producers. It can be used to make lumber more efficiently than trees often can. I think you can get usable dimensional lumber out of a hemp field every 4 years, if done right, if I have the numbers right. But hemp is an impressive plant, completely aside from the psychoactive properties. And I would really love to one day be able to, grow some hemp fields for different purposes. Maybe grow and produce hemp rope from a fiber, because there's so many different types of it. You get the fibery ones, you get the woody pulp ones, you get the ones that produce CBD, you get the ones that produce THC. It's a very interesting plant, similar to, well, many plants, but apples and things like that can produce surprisingly different properties. Yeah, hemp paper. Many of the founding documents are written on hemp paper. Weighing 5 to 8 a month, that is not good. Yeah, I've not had too many migraines, and I feel pretty lucky for that. But the ones that I have had have given me an appreciation and a sympathy for people who deal with them regularly. Hearst. I'm not familiar with that, but I think that there's, there were multiple industrial reasons. I think that hemp paper and just hemp in general started losing out, and I think a lot of it basically comes down to the fact that it is very readily produced on the small scale, if you will. Small scale farmers can produce a lot of hemp, which will, on the large scale, remove the need for other things like cotton, like oil, like just rope, lots of things that were becoming profitable for the big money, for the barons, if you will. And like any other thing, if there's money in it, they will try to take away your ability to do it for yourself, basically. Yeah, edibles can be a good option for people. They're heaven's essentials, simply because you're not smoking. And if it's, depending on the purposes, my understanding of it is that digesting it, just because of how your stomach and your digestive tract works, you're absorbing it over a longer period of time, and it is obviously delivered to your body in a different fashion. It's bonded into other nutrients like the fats and stuff, so it delivers a little better than whenever it's being forced in through the lung blood barrier, I suppose, if you will. But it does, there is a different effect, which might be better for her, completely aside from the fact that she's just not smoking smoke. With migraines, memory loss dampens the ability to, TBI. Okay, I see what you're saying. But, Yeah, I understand that, Wayne. That's really tough stuff to deal with, and yeah, my condolences there. It's very tough to deal with stuff that messes with you. Your functioning. Much harder probably than having a comparable, simple physical injury, if you will. Not downplaying that at all, but um, being inhibited. Yeah. Yeah, and I agree there, Josh. Everything that I've ever heard and experienced indicates that, yeah, you're going to have a much more powerful physical effect from edibles, especially well made edibles. Well, what does everybody have going on this week over the next couple days? I always like to hear what life is like, or if you guys have any projects, and also if there's ever anything video topics that you would like to see addressed. Not necessarily that I feel like I need to address things for the sake of other people, but if anybody has something they wish someone would talk about or cover, I like to write that down and hopefully not promptly forget about it. Oh, yeah, Heaven's Essentials. There absolutely are YouTube videos on how to do that. I can give you a simple rundown right now if you really want. Get yourself some cheesecloth, get yourself some marijuana. You can get pretty much any kind, just the cheapest loose leaf stuff that they'll sell you. You can double boil you up some butter, about a pound of it, and then run that through a fair amount of marijuana there in the cheesecloth. Do that a few times until you've got some pretty green butter, and then you can use that to bake yourself up some edibles, and they will probably knock you onto the couch. Simple as that. They also sell oils, I hear, but I haven't seen it. But you can find infused cooking oils, things like olive oil that just have the THC floating in it. You can just use that to cook stuff yourself. Oh, that's cool, Wayne. Yeah, funny. One of the people that I talked to at work today said that he is a truck driver and he delivered a fair amount of metal storage shelves to a guy. And I was like, yep, I'll bet you did. Yeah, you can get the taste free CBD oil. You can get taste free THC oil as well, and squirt it into just coffee, pretty much anything. Hardly notice it. Oh shoot, Ranger. Yeah, the childcare aspect is definitely a big deal for a lot of people. There's a lot of single parents or two income households that are needing to figure out what to do with their kids when all of a sudden the childcare industry does not have their back for whatever reason. Yeah, Wayne, you definitely need to be careful when using anything in edibles, whether it's CBD or THC or MDMA or DMT or whatever. Uh, know your doses, because that's how people lose entire days or entire lifetimes. Don't melt the butter with the leaf. I'm not sure what you mean by that. You can just sort of, well, oh, you steep it. Yeah, you absolutely can steep it. It's really, I guess I didn't really explain that very well, but yeah, I have done it in the past, and when I have, I sort of use the cheesecloth as a tea bag to sort of uh, dip it and squeeze it with a gloved hand, um, and so you're sort of, yeah, steeping it like tea. You can definitely, I mean, you can leave it in there if you want. Um, Plenty of people will just powderize the leaf and just blend it right on in, so that they have sort of a, I mean, it's a high fiber content butter, if you will, but plenty of people like the flavor of that. Uh, but you can also just sit there and yeah, let it steep into the melted butter for however long you like. Um, you are going to end up with an extremely potent. That's how people get the batches that are so potent that it's just far too much. Because, but I mean, yeah, just you do whatever you need to do and be careful with how you dose it out, basically. Oh, that's good, Wandering Ranger, that you have work's got your back and everything. You're able to cover all the things. Yeah, Heaven's Essentials. I always suggest, you probably know this, but I always suggest using a double boiler for anything with cream, obviously. That way, yeah. 'Cause cream's a little easier to burn than water. Um, and while you can't necessarily burn water, you can burn your pan with water. If your pan has any amount of oil on it and it's really, really hot and you throw water in it, it will discolor your pan. So that's what I always think of when someone says burning water is, uh, you know, damaging their cookware with scalding water onto a super hot surface. But that's beside the point. Wayne, Wayne got tapped out. That happens. That does happen. Nowadays, that's getting dabbed out. Yep, and it will make everything taste bad till you get the pan clean. Make deodorant in a double boiler. Oh, yeah, you do a lot of essential oils. Yep, you know exactly. You know what you're doing there. So, yeah, just yeah, you got this. But yeah, you can pretty much just go ahead and steep it. I wouldn't necessarily do it for too long, because you're going to get a lot more of the plantiness into it, whereas the actual THC, well, all of the cannabinoids are going to steep into the fats that are in the butter. It's the fat that the that those things want to bond with. So that will actually probably happen pretty quick compared to essentially boiling some marijuana into your butter, which is fine. It's a fine flavor for many people. But if we're talking about, you know, cuisine, then I would say that, then yeah, I would say that most of your psychoactives are steeped out of the plant matter pretty fast. I'd say within 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So if you're talking about steeping it for like a half hour, you're going to get a lot more of the earth notes. I guess you could say, but yeah, just do your thing, and then yeah, I think that from there you'd be good to You could probably do other oils. I've only had experience with the butter method, but I'm sure that if you wanted to heat up some olive oil or other things, anything with a good fat content should do pretty well. I actually once double boiled some milk up and did a little bit of a nutmeg, cinnamon, steamed milk that I did the marijuana in, and that hit me like a brick wall not too long afterwards. It was actually quite surprising. Yeah, no problem. If it helps, it helps, you know. And uh, I've always seen it help a lot of people, you know. And there may be claims against it, you know, especially smoking it and stuff like that. There are detractors to it, but you know, compared to most things that help, I see less. I have observed anecdotally uh, um, that it helps a lot of people with less bad side effects than other things that they would be using instead, like alcohol and stuff like that. Many people will say that alcohol is they're just as bad, but um, I'm one of the fools that doesn't believe that. So, yeah, I ate a brownie on the way to school once. Yep, that can be definitely something that will mess up your day, even if you're used to it, but especially if you're not. But I mean, yeah, like you were saying earlier, there are a pile of videos on all that kind of stuff. Oh yes, and like Wayne said, uh, double boiling is a really good way to make salves without harshing the oils. Uh, but yeah, Wayne, Heaven's Essentials is all about the essential oils and all kinds of stuff like that. I think soaps and everything. So let me pull something up here. But yeah, if you ever have any questions, she's on it. We should probably bug her into making some content. Oh, that's cool, Wayne. I want to say that I thought I. Sorry, guys, just doing a little quick internet search. I see, Wayne, that you have an herbal pain salve that you shared. I'll get that link real quick. Who knows? At this rate, the world will need some soap. Everybody needs soap. That's always been one of the best preps because you'll always use it, obviously. Olive oils, beeswax, cyan, and turmeric. Pain and inflammation. That's a good one. Is that the video that you were referring to there, Wayne? Oh, part 3. There's a couple, huh? Well, I'll leave that one link. They'll be able to find the rest through that, I'm sure. But yeah, cool. That looks like a good video. Turmeric and pepper in the coffee every day. Cool. That's awesome. I really need to get my family into it more. Maybe this will be my opportunity to really get them to eat more healthily. I try to get them to at least take some of the supplements that I take or drink my smoothie occasionally because it's really not that bad. But it's just they're health minded. They when I talk to them about it, they're all on board. But it's just sort of hard to motivate people to change their routine when it comes to food or supplements and stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely want to get people on top of their health more, having just, giving their body a little bit more what it needs. Oh yeah, I've heard. What kind of pepper are you just using? Using cayenne, Heaven's Essentials. Black. Oh, just black pepper there. Okay. Huh. I mean, they've all got the um, capsaicin and the other things that are going to be helpful. But I've heard cayenne is often used for just general goodness. Oh, okay, yeah. I see what you're saying there, Wayne. The curcumin. Okay, yeah. Oh, the pepper boosts the turmeric. Okay. Well, I knew that capsaicin and some of the other stuff that's in pepper just generally has an actual anti-inflammatory effect of its own, but I didn't know that it was a turmeric booster. So that's really cool. I think I have heard that now that I'm starting to think about it with the curcumin. But all right, very interesting. Well, I really need to get my family on that because uh, most of my family deals with either migraines or just general inflammation syndromes. But like I say, it's especially when they're taking other medications all the time, it's sort of hard to get them to add more regimens to the pile. Oh yeah, that's true, Wayne. That's a good idea. I need to experiment with that, with the putting the cayenne in your socks and stuff. I've got one middle finger that actually uh, gets colder faster than the rest because it's been cut. I think that's why it's been cut so many times from different angles all the way around. I think it's actually got significantly poorer blood circulation because every time I go out in the cold, even with gloves and everything, the fingertip of that one middle finger always gets numb from the cold faster than anything else. But that's what you get for doing all the work that I've done, you're just sort of likely to get semi-deep cuts across your fingers and stuff occasionally. Between working in machine shop and working outside and working in the restaurant, those are 3 ways to be able to cut yourself in minor to middling ways. Yeah, Wayne, I've never gotten the artery, I don't think. I might have nicked it, but I've never... Well, no, probably not, because I've never... Well, dang, I have gotten stitches a couple times. So, I don't know. But I don't think I've ever really gotten any of the major blood vessels, but I know that, especially with that finger and a couple others, I've gotten flesh cuts, semi-deep down that might have maybe needed stitched or something like that, but didn't. Enough times I'm like, man, that one's probably just a little beat up. It's sort of hard to swish everything through there. Well, exactly, Heavens. That's what I was sort of wondering, if putting a little bit of cayenne into the, and just in case, just for the sake of anyone Googling it, it's not super important otherwise for the sake of our conversation, but I believe that is the proper spelling of cayenne there. Just for if anybody goes looking it up or looking for it in the store. But yeah, that's why when Wayne mentioned that it's so good for circulation, I wonder if that wouldn't actually be something that would help. Put that in the very fingertip of a glove and see if that helps with the circulation, help keep that one from getting numb. So I think I might try that out, or maybe just lick your finger and dip it in some cayenne. Oh, dang, Wayne. Oh, so it's actually something that would break open if you hit or grip hard enough or something. Oh, people don't like it when you bleed on them. That's actually why that's one. I don't know if I would ever suggest it as a self-defense tactic, but under certain circumstances, the same. All right, let me know if you can hear me. I might or might not have accidentally exited the window that I was connected to this stream through, but I guess we'll never know because it's lost to history. So anyway, through miraculous 10-second delay, I have another drink. Did not get probed, but thanks. I ain't got time to bleed. I don't know, Wayne. I know that you got a bit of self-defense savvy. No, Jan, I'm back. I just accidentally exited the window. Maybe, we don't know. So you guys have probably heard about the tactic of, maybe, okay, for instance, wetting your pants to avoid a confrontation, because nobody wants to scuffle with someone who's wet their pants. I don't know if you've heard about this one, but sort of smearing poo on yourself like a monkey. That would probably keep someone from wanting to fight you. And so too would probably minorly cutting yourself enough to have blood all over your arms and face. That would definitely make somebody think that you are insane, and people don't want to fight insane people because they just don't know what you're going to do. But those kinds of things are always interesting. And I'm not suggesting them, but they're always interesting because they're right on the verge of, yes, they would probably work in a lot of situations, but there are probably situations where they would not help or be worth doing. But it came up, so I just thought I'd mention because it always does interest me for the sake of speculation. Wait, what would piss you off even more? If you had to deal with somebody and they did that? Yeah, but I'm thinking under the circumstances of like being mugged on the street by a group of attackers or something like that. Something not necessarily where you're definitely going to have to deal with that person, or where that person is definitely going to be in that confrontation, but where potentially the confrontation could be avoided. Basically trying to mad dog them, Yeah, Jan, I think that probably most people would leave. Yep, Wayne. And that's how I think that a lot of experienced fighters probably go to, and that's why that's my hesitation in ever suggesting it, because like I say, I think it's a narrow window where it would work. And I think that once you pass that window, once you go into a true predator or someone who's, I mean, usually when someone's really there to hurt you or really there to ruin your day, yeah, like you just said, if someone's crossed that line, it's usually not a line that you're going to get them to cross back, short of matching them, I guess. But yeah, no, it's just I was curious if that was how you felt, but yeah, it always interests me when people talk about it, because I do feel that on one hand, for many, for instance, criminals of opportunity, that would probably, but for most people, they would not pull that trigger, in a situation where it would work on the person. And that's the other thing, Jan. It is sort of a story mode type of, especially because most attacks happen so fast that you're not going to get the chance to do anything. Yeah, exactly, Wayne. Hello, Wonders in the Wasteland. How you doing? Yeah, Wayne. And I think that that's my general consensus whenever I spend enough time thinking about it. But I mean, I guess we just sort of imagine ourselves in that situation, that we would never want to hurt somebody bad enough that would not deter us. But yes, it's absolutely true that in any situation where someone has truly truly chosen to hurt you or ruin your day, yeah, there's the really bad situations. It's not going to do anything. So yeah, thank you for that. How did that even come up? Oh, because you were talking about bleeding on people in the dojo. Yep, I agree, Wayne. That's always the best advice that I've ever heard from anybody who seems to know what they're talking about, including the book that I have been reviewing in the past, which I really need to get back to, Meditations on Violence, is either see it coming and avoid it, or once it happens, Yeah. Handle business without hesitation. Extreme prejudice, if you will. Good to know you're not the only insomniacs here. Nope, that's part of the reason that I do this so late at night is A, it's often when I have the time to do it, and B, there's a lot of people who tend to appreciate the late night chat. So, and it's a decent way for me to get a lazy video out. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I do the live stream because I just have not had the motivation to do a video recently. And that has been the case. I just have not been able to decide which video to do. There's things that I've wanted to talk about concerning recent events. Then I decide there's no real need for me to do that, and there's already so much mud in the water. And often some of the random videos that I have wanted to do, they don't seem to work right at the moment. So, yeah, I'm often on the fence with it, but sometimes I do end up just doing the live stream because it's a way to at least get something out there. And I really like chatting with you guys late at night. Who needs East Coast people anyways? Sorry if any of you are from the East Coast, but so many of my East Coast friends take an exception to me doing this when it's like 2 o'clock in the morning their time. But, you know, insomniacs unite. Or people who have simply had too much coffee. I don't even need coffee to stay up late. Sometimes I'll just stay up till 3 or 4 my time. Yes, Wandering Ranger, you're very, very, very east, aren't you? Simply Jan is where it's 3 a.m., so you're going to be central, aren't you? Yeah, Wandering. You said you were making coffee, so in your you're UK, right? Yeah, Jan. I have been just. I mean, even my last couple of videos have been just softball stuff, the garden video and stuff, because I don't have anything to contribute right now. I mean, I got a lot of videos I can make. I've been wanting to continue with the book reviews. I'm going to try to go out and do the potato cannon tomorrow. But I really, I try to do valuable information discussion type videos on here. And for one thing, I want at least some of what I say to, to be valuable to new people. New preppers, my family or friends or people from work, albeit whether it's coworkers or customers that I've given my card out to. I don't necessarily want to just be having deep or high level conversation concerning just prepper and preparedness topics that need a lot of background information. And I also don't want to just fall into the trap of talking about, like I said, current events. So it's just sort of hard to be like, man, yeah, this is the video that's valuable right now to other people, or this is the video that I want people to see on my channel right now at this current moment. So yeah, that's part of the reason why I haven't really done the videos and why it's so easy to do the live streams, just because all I need to do is hop on here and share what I have to say at that current moment and then have a good chat with you fine folks. 4 a.m. Oh yeah, I'll go to, honestly, sometimes I'll just end up not falling asleep by accident. Lately, I've actually been doing triphasic sleep almost, where you sort of sleep like 4 or 5 hours here and there, or even just less, like a really strong power nap, and then just you're up in between. So you have 2 sleep periods and 3 waking periods between them. And yeah, it's not bad. I guess it doesn't. It sort of blurs into not even having different waking periods, but you beat your limit at 101. There you go. Um, you sort of end up having this sort of constant cycle of waking and sleeping across different periods of time, but it's not bad if you actually take advantage of the productivity time because you're often awake when there's not distractions or sounds if you're a YouTuber. That's part of how I started doing it was waking up in the middle or staying up till the middle of the night to film my reading videos for because whenever I do a reading of a book, I set up a little sound stage and I like to have it be in the middle of the night so there's no sound in my house, no sound in the neighborhood because you'd be surprised how well a decent microphone, which I have a very cheap microphone, but even just a decent detachable microphone will pick up somebody's car 2 houses down just idling in their driveway or a dog barking. And I don't I'm not aiming to make my readings particularly high quality, but I don't necessarily want distractions in the background. So I'll do that in the middle of the night and edit in the morning and release it. In fact, maybe I'll end up doing that either tonight or pretty soon. It's 1 a.m. my time. I could probably just still do an audiobook reading section. We'll see. Yeah, Wayne, I don't like to go too long without at least a little bit of sleep, but I can go surprising periods of time with very small amounts of sleep. I spent almost all of 2016 sleeping an hour or 2 hours a night at most, usually. Wow, Jen, your entire night's being dictated by the animals there, huh? Oh yeah, Wayne, I hear you. No, for me, yeah, 2016 was pure uh, internal distress and insomnia, if you will. Reading the second book in the Metro 2033 series. I am not sure I'm familiar with that. Well, it sounds like I'm familiar, like I've heard about it, but okay, that's what I thought it was. It's the books that the video games are based on, right? That actually sounds pretty interesting. I heard that those are pretty good books. Yeah, Wonders, I actually feel that that does make sense. It is a pretty natural process to sort of wake up in the middle of the night, want to take care of stuff and do a few things and then go back to sleep for a while and wake up in the morning. Um, because I tend to think of things, not necessarily paleo like it's commonly thought of, but I do try to keep in mind for the fact that most recently, before agricultural animals, we were tribal animals, and just often throughout our history, we have needed to be able, you wake up in the middle of the night, you walk out, you go to the bathroom. That's not nearly as convenient as it is nowadays. It, means going outside and worrying about things and taking care of stuff. So often, if you wake up in the middle of the night to do something, you're going to be up for a few minutes. You're probably going to be doing a few things. You'll probably end up taking care of a lot of stuff because throughout history, life has always been, required a little bit more upkeep, if you will. So yeah, most people tend to have to wake up at some point in the night and take care of a few things. So um, it would make sense that we have the adaptation to be able to do the sleep, wake up, at least in the proper amount of chunks. It depends. I have actually lately had more dreams now that I've been doing a little bit more of that triphasic sleeping more often, which is strange because, uh, historically speaking, I guess throughout my life, I have very rarely remembered dreams. Yeah, Jan. Last time I checked, I could still do that kind of stuff. Uh, Sleep for 2 or 3 hours and then work for just all day long. It does eventually add up, but hopefully I still have that if I ever need it. Oh yeah, Wonders in the Wasteland. Yeah, Wayne, I tend to very rarely remember a dream. They say you always dream. If you didn't dream, then you'd pretty much have to be brain dead. But whether or not you remember them is based on a lot of different stuff. Really, Wonders. You must be flexing up a lot while you're sleeping. I mean, it can also just be mental exhaustion, but a lot of people, you know, either move while they're dreaming, sort of like they're doing what they're doing, or they'll just sort of almost seize up, sort of flex into whatever position they're sleeping in and just be like that for an hour at a time or whatever. That can really burn out your blood sugar while you're sleeping. Yeah, Wayne, I mean, here we are, but yeah, definitely. It seems like sleep problems are one of the biggest growing issues that people deal with. A lot of different things that contribute to people not being able to sleep, and I think the modern world causes more and more of them. Well, anybody have any fun projects they're working on this week? I'm going to try to get out into the woods, shoot the potato cannon. I'm going to check my weather forecast, see if I have enough warm weather to do some stuff in the garden anytime soon. I've got my seeds, so if I can sprout them now, not have to worry about any frost by the time they need to go outside, I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to grow some mammoth sunflower seeds, some carrots, find some potato starts, and some spinach so far. I think that might be all that I picked up already, but we'll see. Yeah, Wayne, I don't know if I'd ever really be able to sleep on the way to combat. I know that a lot of guys manage it, but maybe I could. I guess maybe I could eventually see that, but I either go very, very, very calm or pretty high adrenaline. I like to think that I'd be able to keep it frosty, but you just never know, I guess, until you've done it. Yeah, I could see if helicopters would put you out. Yeah, that rhythmic thumping and droning and stuff. A mushroom lentil Wellington. Oh, Jan, you haven't seen the potato cannon yet? So I have so far only done the video where I build it and a video where I do sort of a test firing into a bucket of water. It's sort of a fun video, but it's not the real test fire. But yeah, hopefully tomorrow or the next day I'll get out in the woods and actually do some real blasting away with the potato cannon. I've made plenty of these in the past, and judging from judging from the energy that one has and the sound that it made when it fired, I think it's a pretty powerful cannon. I think it's a pretty good one, and I imagine that it will launch the potatoes at least right around 100 yards, if not more. That's what I've tended to see out of a good cannon. I've never actually tested it like on a range or a football field or anything, but I've launched some potatoes past what I eyeball as 100 yards. So yeah. That's funny, Wonders. But yep, it is a high velocity potato relocator made out of 4-inch ABS pipe and 2-inch ABS pipe, connectors, and barbecue lighter. But mostly just for fun, partly for the practical opportunity to share it with people, for them to use under their own discretion, but mostly for just entertainment purposes. Because who doesn't like a potato cannon? Potatoes, I guess. Oh yeah, Wonders. That link right there will take you to my video. You can open a tab or whatever, but it's just my other video, or my video showing the test firing. Unfortunately, my auto white balance on the camera kept darkening the view every time I went to step in the corner, so you can't really see it the first time around, but there's a decent shot of it going off. I just shoot it into a bucket of water that catches the potato because I was testing it in a residential area. But next time I'll go out and be able to do a good trajectory, do some real shooting, maybe shoot some targets. Right guard spray. Yeah, there are a few different aerosols that do really well. All right, Heaven's Essentials. Yeah, I'd say that I'm probably going to do maybe a half hour at most more and probably head on out after that, but we'll see. Anyways, you have a good night. Thank you for hanging out and chatting. It's always good to see you. And you have yourself a good evening. Rest well. Consider making a slam fire. I would be careful with that. That's iffy anywhere, let alone anywhere that might have more tight regulations on that kind of stuff. You can always have the parts, which is one of the interesting things about like a potato cannon or anything like that. You can always tend to have the parts that are not illegal to have, just some pipe. It's the obvious modifications meant to produce a thing that are the problem, because any competent police officer looking at stuff that's meant to make something knows what they're talking about. But right on, Wonders. I'm glad you like I say, I do plan on getting out there, and I plan on just really lobbing some potatoes pretty far, but I also plan eventually on figuring out some good custom projectiles, I guess you could say, seeing what kind of fun we can have with it. I'd like to find some safe testing conditions for me to launch some Molotov cocktail style rounds, like a potato soaked in gasoline. That's not a very safe method. That's definitely going to leave my potato cannon on fire, but I want to figure something like that out. That could be a cool way to have some pyrotechnic videos, not for anybody else to try to replicate, but just for the sake of the fireworks show. But yeah, we're gonna have some fun with it. I might do. I've definitely thought about like a sabbat round. Like using a soda can or like a small coffee drink can, and cutting it in half, making a sabbat round out of it for like a steel sabbat round, so I can see if I can like penetrate things or kill a watermelon or something like that. But yeah, we'll see what we can do with a potato cannon. We're gonna have some fun. Other types of potatoes. Yeah. No, I've got some fun ideas there, Wayne. That would be see the I actually really I think that I haven't used pure butane, but I'm experimenting with the pure lighter butane, because really, if you look at most of the propellants that are popular, the hairspray or deodorants and stuff like that, it's the isobutane is the propellant in it, and that's most of what's combusting. So I decided to try to skip it, just go ahead with lighter refill butane, and launching. Oh, you bet, Wonders. I'm glad you like it. Part of why I do the late night live stream is because sometimes late at night is when somebody needs something chatting. But yeah, anyways, Wayne, I'm gonna be checking out. I'm gonna try with this butane, see if it has the launching power, which I imagine that it will. Just from the sound of that test that I got, I really like the compression that I think I'm getting. But if the butane works well, it definitely creates enough fireball to ignite something. So I think that what I will try to do is have either an alcohol-based incendiary round, if you will, or like a kerosene-based incendiary round, just like a soda can filled with kerosene and cotton, just packed with cotton and filled with lighter, Zippo fluid or something. Seal it off, put a wick in it, and let the wick be lit by the potato cannon ignition. But we'll see. I'm going to try to figure out a way for us to have a fun little pyrotechnic video simply for entertainment purposes. Wedge slices of Coke cans in the end of a potato. Oh yeah, Wayne. Whenever I get into made a Spanish shop and launched it through a steel locker with a wow, that was a little bit of a you doing like a little bit of a Wicker Man kind of thing there, Wayne. Oh yeah, Wonders. It is nice to have I tend to well, knock on let me see if I have some wood here. Knock on wood. I tend not to get trolls. That's part of why I do it right now, is because the notifications don't go out to trolls at 2 a.m. in the morning, and they tend to be asleep, I think. I don't know. But yeah, like you were saying, Wayne, I do tend to launch from cover. Whenever I'm just launching potatoes, I'm not too worried about the thing exploding because I've got it wrapped pretty darn well in duct tape. I do want to build a little bit of like the locker was an accident, but it was cool. Nice. So how did you accidentally launch it? Like, was it launched by a belt, or did you actually shoot it from something? For some reason, I'm imagining that you can used it a compressed air pipe. The trolls' moms have tucked them in. Which is actually one of the ways that I would like to one day, not the moms tucking people in, but there are YouTubes of some really cool YouTube videos of some really cool potato cannons made just from compressed air systems. You just have a very high pressure chamber, you compress it full of air, and you have a trip valve that will open extremely quickly, and you hit a switch and it uses just a very high pressure compressed air to thump a potato out, and they can get some really good speeds. I can't remember if they're better than a combustion chamber or not, but I would really like to try out a air compressor cannon sometime. Oh yeah, you bet, Wonders. I don't always respond if I'm in the middle of a ramble towards the beginning of the video. Towards the beginning of a live stream, I try to have it sort of be something that would be valuable if someone's rewatching it later. But then once we get into the chat, yeah, I definitely try to chat with you guys and everything, because that's a lot of what I get out of it is interacting with you guys, hearing what you have to say, getting some social interaction, because I prefer it here often than random people that I might meet out in the real world. Bloop. I think that the let's see, couple craziest things I've ever done with a potato cannon. No, you're awesome, Wonders. For some reason, one time we stuck an arrow, just like a normal compound bow arrow, through the center of a potato and stuck it into the cannon. Well, we had the potato in the cannon, and we reached up into the blasting chamber and like shoved the arrow through it, and we launched the potato. And that was one of the most powerful launches I've ever seen, because it launched that potato a really surprising height. Like we launched it from the top of a very tall hill at a 45-degree angle, and it soared forever. But what was crazy is at the apex of the potato's trajectory, it started falling, but right at the top, the arrow like disconnected and just kept flying. Like it reached an apex that was at least 50 feet higher than the potato itself was. I'm not sure how it disconnected from inside the potato and just carried on straight, or how the potato was not just tumbling. Somehow the fletching on the arrow must have kept it straight. I don't know. It boggles my mind, but somehow right at the peak of the potato's flight, the arrow flew out of it, continued flying upwards, and fell at least 150 yards further than the potato did. We were searching for it for quite a while. It's still, even now that I even really think about the fact that like just all of the physics involved and it still pointing straight whenever it disconnected is mind-boggling to me. Anyways, the other cool one, same day, same potato cannon. We set up a stack of 1/8 plywood, 1 inch of styrofoam board, just insulation board, and then another 1/8 of plywood. So it's thin plywood, but it was the real 3 or 4 plywood. We set all that, little chunks of that stacked up in front of each other in front of a little boulder, and shot the potato cannon at it. And it's just a normal potato from off of the counter. And it went through all of that stuff. It went through a 1/4 inch of plywood altogether that was sandwiched around 1 inch of styrofoam board. And then whenever I tried to find the potato behind all that, it had hit the boulder and turned completely into mashed potato. Like I could not find a piece of potato that was bigger than my thumbnail. So somehow this potato cannon shot a potato through all that plywood and styrofoam without really leaving much potato on any of it. It just, the impact blew through it somehow, and almost all of the potato made it to the rock and then just splattered itself completely, which is amazing because I've shot a lot of potatoes and they tend to disintegrate into 4 or 5 chunks, not just yeah. So I think that must have been a magical potato cannon that we made that one time, because I know wonders. I wouldn't tell you. I mean, I hope that I wouldn't tell a story that didn't translate into something pretty interesting. But it's just it's shenanigans, and that's part of why I did the cannon, because it's good old fashioned shenaniganery, if you will. So I'm really hoping that we'll have a little bit of fun with that in the videos and stuff. Definitely the kind of stuff that I think everybody should have a little bit of silly fun. You know what I mean? So that's part of why I like to do that kind of stuff, is remind people of the lighthearted side of life. Oh yeah, I mean, I won't lie. It's pretty fun for me to do that kind of stuff. I don't. I mean, I do go out of my way for videos and stuff all the time, but pretty much everything that I do here is an interest or a passion of mine. I wouldn't go too far out of my way, or I find a way to enjoy everything that I do here. But I'd be lying if a potato cannon just didn't sound like fun to me. What about board games there, Wonders? Do I like them? Have I considered them for video content? Because I've got a card game that I need to share. Never did share that, actually. I mean, I shared it, but I meant to do a video playing it with my family. The Bug Out Family card game from Praxis Prepper's channel. As for actual board games, if you're just asking what I like, I tend to like Monopoly, Life, although I prefer Monopoly to Life. I feel like Life is just very linear. I don't know. There are a lot of ones that I'm probably forgetting. There's one, what's it called? There's one where you build towers, and you're sort of owning stocks or businesses or something. I forget what it's called. I really like Risk. Risk is a good one. I could play Risk forever. Chess is a classic, obviously. Play chess for quite a long time. C.S. Lewis. I've always meant to read the Space Trilogy. I've absorbed bits of it, different places, but I've never actually sat down and read it, to tell you the truth. It is on my list of books to read. I've got a list of books to read. It's a long list. What kind of catapults do you have there, Wayne? You made catapults on Thanksgiving? Are they like little table catapults? Because I have, for a good chunk of my life, hope that one day I'll have the resources and space to simply build a trebuchet. Like a full tilt trebuchet. Like one that could launch a 1-ton stone. I don't think that's too much to ask for. Jenga, yes. I don't know Nifltoffel. And I've only ever learned backgammon once, I think. I don't know that I could really play it without being taught again. Okay, little tabletop tension catapult. All right, Wonders. Yeah, I mean to. And I shall. I really need to make reading outside of my channel reading a priority. I've got multiple books I'm in the middle of and have been for quite a while. It's a very sad thing. Yeah, Wayne, I think it would be really cool to build like a real timber frame catapult. All right, I'll have to check that out too there, Wayne. So many things. Just an endless list of things to learn. Paralandra. Yes. Wonders, do you know about the Wheel of Time series? Do you know that I'm reading that? If you haven't heard about it, you should definitely check it out if you like audiobooks.
let me know and I can share my reading of it. You don't need to listen to it. There's professional audiobooks available, or you can just go buy it, which I always suggest. But the Wheel of Time series is an epic and, in my opinion, a masterpiece fantasy book. I mean, many would consider this to be heresy, but I would just put it. Oh, man, I don't know if I can say that it's on par with Lord of the Rings. I would say that my enjoyment of it is far beyond the Lord of the Rings, but um, yeah, I can say I think I would fairly say that it, as a literary work, it's on par with. It is different, yeah. I don't know. It's just so hard to say anything's as good as the Lord of the Rings, and I think that that's largely from the historical perspective, but and just from our bias towards it. But God, I can't tell you how many times. Yeah, I agree, Wayne. I can't tell you how many times reading The Wheel of Time, I literally have put the book down and been like, this guy must have been, I mean, he must have been an idiot savant. I really don't know that much about Robert Jordan. And bums me out that he died while writing them. But he must have been either an idiot savant somehow, just who built this world and kept it all in his head at the same time, or I've always imagined a person just standing in front of like a wall the size of a professional gymnasium with like those little string charts that connect all the people and all the events, and like, you know, just like keep all the continuity, because yes, I like Lord of the Rings very much. um oh, Emberverse. um but if you really actually, if you once you reread the Wheel of Time a couple times and you start really paying attention to minute connections, there are things that were set up in the first book that are referenced later on that really compel me to think that they were intentional and not just callbacks, because just certain aspects of how the original reference was written wasn't just a random detail that you throw in a book to make it seem like it has more depth. It was like, why else would you refer to this? Why else would you write that into it? Um, Other than because you knew that because you had already thought of what that thing was. You know what I mean? You can sometimes tell the difference between a callback and an intentional plant in the storyline. Wonders. Um, I wouldn't say necessarily that you're automatically awesome if you appreciate Tolkien. I mean, if you have a true appreciation of Tolkien, then yes. Um, but I would say that anybody who does not appreciate Tolkien is automatically not necessarily awesome. But yes, Tolkien, his work is pretty awe-inspiring just in its depth. Um, and just, yeah, how much we have to appreciate of it, how much we know about it. Bums me out. Christopher Tolkien recently died. I really meant to do a full video appreciating him, uh, because he did do a lot. A lot of what we know about Tolkien's work we would not have known if it wasn't for the work of his son and the estate ever since then. What existed of the Lord of the Rings in the public, what was published of it, is a small fraction of what Tolkien fans have available to them, I suppose you could say. Like if you've read any of the annotated works, like I've read the annotated Hobbit, which is uh, double the size. It's got the Hobbit, the original, well, not the original, but the current standard Hobbit version in the center, but down both sides, sort of like a noted Bible. Both, so the story is down the center. There's two columns on each page, so 4 columns across the pages that you're reading. And in the center two is the book, and on the outside columns is notes or references to other books that have better explanations, like the Silmarillion and stuff, about what Tolkien was actually writing. So there'll be an entire page of just notes, just saying originally Tolkien meant for the trolls to be this, but he ended up settling for this in the final version, because there's multiple versions of each book that are contradictory against each other, mostly because he changed the world as he told it to his kids or as he wrote it himself. So yeah, there's a lot that did not get finalized until after his death, and so his son and the state did a lot to finish what Tolkien wanted the world to look like. So a lot of that is their work, and pretty true to the origin of it. Not counting the movies, he was not happy about the movies. They're good. I appreciate the movies, but not canon. Yeah, exactly, Wayne. Well, and it's not just that he put the work into it. The work is a result of him just being a master of language and understanding history and stuff like that. He just had it in his head and had built, a lot of the Silmarillion and the First Age, the history of the Lord of the Rings, is actually what he had imagined first, because he was a historian and linguist before anything else. And it was sort of like almost a mental exercise for him to get it, to get it out of his head, if you will, to write his own languages, to build his own history, because was so immersed in ours and all the interesting bits of history and stuff. He couldn't help but make his own. And so The Hobbit was him finding a way to tell children's stories in that world, but that was never where he started, but it's where he first came out with it. And then as he told those stories and people told him that he should be sharing that, he built a storyline in The Lord of the Rings, like Wayne said, that he put a lot of his own like wartime experiences and stuff into, especially with Mordor and stuff. But just with carrying burdens and everything. But he built a storyline that, not necessarily just for commercial reasons, but something that could be appreciated by adults, but also which had, because the hobbits are always the child avatar, for the child reader. So, it's a masterful work. Wonders, I have not done Silmarillion cover to cover, but I can't even say how I ended up reading through it, but just sometimes whenever I'm not going to be able to finish a book, I will do chapter starts or just open it throughout the book and read what captures my attention for however long it does. But I've always meant to go back and do Silmarillion cover to cover now that I have a little more patience. Yeah, Wayne. That's one of the best parts, is just the reality of the backstory of it. He just one of the to be honest, lately, as I have been sort of fed up with a lot of stuff on YouTube, prepper, whatever community. Not even for any reason that's anybody's fault, but I mean, and I'm sorry if anybody here is doing the homemade hand sanitizer or alternatives to toilet paper videos or whatever, but sometimes I just don't even want to look at my subscription feed, because I know it will be a stack of things like that and stuff. Things that already existed on YouTube, which, I mean, not everything needs to be something new that was just never done on YouTube before. But a lot of channels are like, well, I'm just trying to make sure that people have the information available to them as they make the 10,000th video about how to do something without adding anything new to it. They're just watching 3 videos and then making their own. And I've done that. So I know what I'm talking about. um, Master and Margaret. I have not, but give me a second. I'm going to grab my list. And I mean, I get it. If I was making 1 or 2 videos a day like I used to, and like a lot of these guys are, why not just toss it on? But so I get it. I'm not faulting anybody, but it is part of why I haven't made videos, and it is part of why I've been watching a lot of Lord of the Rings fan theory videos. Was my original point. I've been watching a lot of Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and Star Wars fan theory videos because it's a lot better for my mental state than what's going on in our community sometimes. I still keep an eye out for stuff and I'm like, ooh, this looks valuable. This looks like something I would like on a normal sunny day. So I'll click on that. But a lot of the time, I'm watching something silly and fictional. So, hey, Jason Jabroni. Well, Wayne, I at least always appreciate your perspective. Maybe you're just my crazy guy. I don't know. But I think that you're not all the way crazy like some guys are. And like I said, I'm not faulting anyone for the kind of videos they make. I'm just explaining why sometimes I just go watch something that is not that's just silly and fictional. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, and also why I'm not throwing my 2 cents on top of the pile because a lot of you guys say it better than I would. You've already said it, and yeah, that's pretty much most of what I got for that one. But sometimes, because I do like, oh, I totally would, Wayne. No, I usually try, whenever I make a video about serious stuff, if you will, I usually want to bring something not necessarily unique because there's nothing, you can't come up with anything unique. But if I don't feel like what I'm sharing is something that might be the first time my audience has heard it, I just sort of lose motivation, I guess. And so that's part of why I haven't chimed in on a lot of stuff until somebody says, hey, I want to hear what you say. But no, Wayne, I wasn't. Ooh, lost my mic. Sorry about that. Dropped my mic off my shirt. No, like I said, I wasn't calling anyone out or putting shots across anyone's bow or even whatever. Like, you know what I mean? And just explaining why with that inundation of videos, and there's some like yours that I make sure to always check and watch and stuff, even if they're, because a lot of us, I've even seen it whenever I've started talking about it. Multiple people who have already made it clear they don't watch live streams that are about that topic, they leave. And I don't fault anybody for what kind of videos they want to make or what kind of videos they want to ingest. Yeah, Wayne, that was interesting, definitely. That's one thing that I want to talk about, that I want to see more people talk about. Not the theme the camp thing, but the I I don't want to go conspiratorial with how I say this, but obviously there's a weakening of rights right now, right? Like we're rationing. The government is imposing business curfews, business closures, and things like that. That's control. So, and that's good. We need to quarantine. A lot of people are freaking out over that, when in reality, it's just the first time that many of us have seen a proper response to a pandemic. We should probably do something similar, but a little more rational, but something similar to this for the normal flu. We could probably save a lot of lives if we actually were all doing some of this stuff, like staying home when we know we're sick, like sanitizing things properly. Not nearly as much as we're doing right now. I think that we're going to have some kind of weird super bug pop up just because we're all wiping down stuff and just creating these weird little super bug colonies around everything that we wipe up. So that's going to be interesting. Oh, Jace did mention what are some strange things that are going to run out next. And that is a really good point. That is something that I think about and have talked about with multiple customers today and with earlier in the live stream. It's always interesting to think, try to ponder what's going to be next. Because there's always that next thing. Currently, cigarettes are fine where I work. Currently, beer and most things are fine. I can tell you that vape juice has been getting, the nicotine vapor juice. That's the one that runs out faster because there's just multiple flavors and each one only has so many units that they can purchase. Whereas we have a bunch of Marlboros, we have a bunch of Camels. We still, by volume, have a whole bunch of vape juice. None of the Vice items have been hit hard enough anywhere that I've seen or heard of. Actually, I think, Wayne, you mentioned that alcohol has not been purchased up near enough, and that's sort of concerning. Those are the kinds of things that do lead me to think that it is a bubble type of scare purchase. I'd call me too conservative on this, but I do not. I believe that most of the things that are being purchased out, we will see full shelves on again within a couple months. Most things, most places. I think toilet paper is being made right here in America still. The packaging may look different. We might need to figure out how to make packaging for a lot of stuff because a lot of that is made in China. A lot of the packaging is done in China. But unless we can get it sent over there and get it back, we're going to be looking at having to figure some of that stuff out for ourselves, or just sending cereal out without the cardboard boxes anymore. I don't know. But there will probably be some changes and some things like that. But there are a lot of things that we still make here that, in fact, I had a discussion with a Walmart worker today who said, what one of the biggest side effects for Walmart is going to be trying to figure out how to keep their computer from purchasing this much toilet paper a week from now, a month from now, 6 months from now, and a year from now, because the algorithm is in control. And so on this date in a year, we better hope that everybody needs this much toilet paper because that's what the trucks are going to show up to Walmart with. But aside from that, we were talking about electronics. I think it would be very interesting to see a world without any cell phones or charger cables. Wayne mentioned solar panels. Pretty much anything made in Shenzhen region or a lot of those different popular manufacturing towns, counties, if you will, in China. That kind of stuff is probably going to disappear once everyone starts making quote unquote luxury purchases. Well, no air quotes. That's Whenever people stop spending their money on TP and things like that and start going, oh, all right, my charger cable is sort of wearing out again. I'm going to go purchase that. You only have whatever pretty much the warehouses have right now for a lot of things, I think. And then, a lot of that stuff is going to start disappearing. JSnip, are you changing your current residential area? Are you moving to the land? Is that what you're saying? Condoms are going to run out soon. It's actually funny, Wandering Ranger. I talked to Palmetto Prepared behind the scenes, and I was brainstorming with him what kind of stocks would be good stocks to buy. And semi-jokingly, I decided that companies that produce condoms are good stocks to buy because they, there are things that could cause them to surge in popularity, and they pretty much will never stop being. They're not going to go out of business. No one's ever going to not use condoms unless some miracle technology comes around. But people will probably always use condoms, so it's probably a good stock to buy. And stemming from that, your point being with all of the quarantining, I think that a lot of people are probably quarantining with their snuggle buddy. Jason, I have there have been people who have made that comment, but alcohol, cigarettes, pharmaceutical stocks are all good to go. Yep. Yeah, so I might if I ever get into it, purchase who was it? I forget. I looked it up. The guy who makes Trojan, company that makes Trojan. They'll probably be doing okay for a while. Who knows? Yeah, alcohol and stuff. Can't wait. Yes, the fear mongering is horrible there, Jan. I could get into it. Palmetto Prepared got into it. He made a good video, and I will grab that here just really quick because I highly approve of it. He said everything that I probably have to say. We could all say more. I know that he restrained himself, but he touched a lot of points that I definitely agree with about a lot of the videos that have been going on, including just the fear. Honestly, and I'm sorry to anybody who has done something that they feel looks like this. I'm not calling anyone out, I'm not putting shots across anybody's bow. I don't like the video streaming, the live streaming of other websites that other people can just go visit for themselves. Like, I don't understand that service. So I could right now I could go to the CDC website or whatever it is that they're all on, and just screen share it to you. I can screen share anything that YouTube will let me screen share without kicking me off as soon as the robots realize it. So I don't understand, because it's distracting from the chat. It's pointing people at information that may or may not mean anything useful to them, where your analysis may or may not be accurate and or useful to people in their situation. There's just so many factors and so many weak links that lead to you muddying the water. And that's what I see. That's it. Just, even to me, I consider myself to be a rational analyst of information for my own purposes. Like, I can look at my information for myself, make a pretty good decision. And it is sometimes hard for me to make a decision because I'm just, a lot of the information that runs through my head is stuff that I know is useless from YouTube. Um, and that bugs me because, like I said, whether I'm right or not, I consider myself to be a pretty savvy sasser of BS. And I know that some people perhaps fall below my level of ability to, tell whether or not something is BS. And so it makes me sad that a lot of people are coming into this conversation and being informed by people who, quite frankly, yeah, you insert fill in the blank, should not be getting the credence that they do from other people, I suppose. Booze and smokes are going to be great to have. Just gotta be careful. Who knows you got them. Yeah, Jason, I actually don't have a lot of that kind of stuff myself. I just work for people who do. I have enough to, like, slowly run out of with someone else, but I know that if there are business closures, then the stock where I work will very quickly disappear to a secure location. So, not too worried about that. And ironically, I'm not worried about getting dropped on. I know that a lot of people are armoring up, and, well, I'm not going to lie, I check my magazines. And all that means is I opened my shotgun case and made sure that there's everything where I left it. It's not all rattled around in there. Then I put it back. So that's nice. But no, I'm not like I don't know. It's funny because I actually usually, whenever my car was working before it broke down, I was carrying much more gear at all times than almost anybody does. Medical gear, a couple weeks worth of food, shotgun, lots of stuff, all strapped down in the back of my car. I never actually did my full car gear video, like shovel, pickaxe, axe, lots of handy tools, stretcher. I had a very extensive car gear set. Yeah, Wayne, it's actually, thank you. I appreciate that. Whenever it's at home, it's empty. Generally, because my hand cannon's always right here. But alcohol and Maza. J-Snip, I can get into that if we get back on it in a second, whether about test run and stuff. Suffice it to say that, yes, I am constantly analyzing if there is a motive behind any of this and what that would be if there is. I've said to a couple people already, and I'll say it again here. I tend to be more in the camp that chaos is often more in control than puppet masters. I believe in puppet masters, don't get me wrong. Definitely believe in puppet masters. All right. I'm not saying, you're talking about that, but I'm often more in the camp of things get away from humans. Humans are not the best controllers of circumstances, even puppet masters. But, things tend to get away from us. Chaos tends to have its way. And so I tend to be more in the camp of, well, maybe somebody, whatever, maybe the media meant to fear hype everybody, but they didn't realize how far it would go, that it would shut down the economy. Maybe they wanted to shut down the economy. Maybe, I guess we'll get into it. maybe they wanted to stimulate everybody into purchasing, but they didn't really want everybody to like not go into work. Maybe, I mean, obviously they want people to not go into work because that's just part of regular like smart pandemic response, right? Like it is actually, it's like part of that is just rational response to a pandemic. um it just yeah, of course we're going to sit here and go over where the line is, what the purpose is, who meant to do what, and what the purpose of that was, what part of it they didn't actually mean to occur. um is it all completely intentional? uh is it the prodigal wave one of the really bad one? uh yeah, insert your question here. Yeah, I don't tend to worry about springs, Snip. um the only real, I mean, I think that that's over a long period of time, and you would notice, I think that you would notice that kind of thing during pre-combat situations, so for instance, a bad magazine, you will have used that magazine recently enough that something like a spring, which is a long-standing effect, long-standing problem, that's not necessarily the kind of thing that just starts happening on one day. That's something that, like, man, this one just never feeds right. um, Other parts that snap and break are the ones that like just suddenly stop working, whereas things like springs tend to have a standing condition, I guess, if that makes any sense, just because of the nature of the metal. Yeah, and sort of like Wayne said, the back and forth tends to break the memory in a spring more than temporarily loading it with energy, like compressing it. Well, Snip, it does depend. If you leave them, if they're just generally sitting there and you've got no reason really to, if you know you're not going to shoot them for a few months or whatever, and you've got no reason to think that you're going to need them sooner than the period of time it's going to take you to load them, yeah, I leave them unloaded. I'm not going to load up magazines so that if I go shooting, whatever. I mean, yeah. Um, Now, ideally, you're shooting and practicing often enough that you do want to leave them loaded and just have them sitting there ready. Ideally, you do have something that is always somewhat ready. I will say my shotgun is pretty much always ready for a substantial amount of shooting, whether that be for fun or none. But uh, yeah, yeah. Oh no, I understand, Jason. I'm not. I know. I get where you're coming from. Um, all right, cool, Wayne. I think that sounds like a pretty good time frame. Thank you for sharing that. Um, yeah, no, Jason, I absolutely agree. It definitely, it feels realer than a lot of things ever have. You know what I mean? I don't think that we'll ever really call. I mean, that we may scoff at how things went, but I don't think that we'll ever call this one um, a fake. You know what I mean? There's been a few. There's been a few things that we were really worried about that we look back at now, like even Y2K, which I think in a lot of ways Y2K was averted rather than just was never a thing. But there have been multiple situations like that one that people look back at and go, haha, we made a lot out of nothing. It never turned out to be a thing. I think this is definitely a thing. Um, even if the death count is still ends up being low enough in America that people can scoff out it without sounding absolutely stupid, they can still compare it to something else and go, see, this other thing killed more people. And there will always be something that killed more people. Um, no matter how that all fleshes out, I think we will all agree this got here fast. It surprised a lot of people. The reaction, although it was what we fully expect to happen in these situations, was eye opening. So I don't think that we'll ever call this a non situation. Um, so yes, it is. It is definitely interesting to be in it. It feels like being in the situation feels. I've joked. I feel like I'm in a prepper novel, like not really like but it does feel like that. Oh, the shelves are empty. We're on that page. We're on about page, what, page 12 of a prepper novel. Uh, maybe page 2 of one that's going to move really fast. I don't know, but yeah, it's got that feeling. It's not one of those ones that almost got here, but um, I think obviously what everybody's waiting on is to see you know, if there are exacerbating issue factors that come along. Um, Spring up week, I'm assuming it wouldn't push. Um, well, no, Jason, if I'm not really sure, I think it would actually have a hard time just pushing the whole stack all at once. It would be the one, it would sort of be the one that has a hard time. Well, no, then it's fully compressed. I'm really not. Um, yeah, you would find it having trouble pretty repeatably at the same point in the cycle, whether it was while it was full and heavy or while it was fully extended with just a few rounds left. Um, I'm really not sure, to be honest. I've never felt like the problem that I had with the magazine was the spring. So uh, pretty much everything that I have is anecdotal there. So uh, basically, I really do believe that it would come down to which magazines are your bad magazines if you're keeping track of them, which is something that I suggest, to be familiar with each magazine and know which ones are doing what to you, and just marking them, keeping track of them, and getting rid of ones or relegating them to shooting, range time only magazines if you just know they're not reliable, and just shooting and doing that often enough at least just to make sure that you don't have a magazine in your rotation that's gonna throw you pretty much throw you a missed cycle pretty often. I don't train very much anymore, Jay Snip. That's one of my not only guilt but regret. I used to shoot very often, and I haven't nearly as much as I should. And it is perishable to a certain degree. It is a muscle memory thing. It does come back pretty quick, but the finer nuances of it are very perishable. Oh, well, that's cool, Wayne. I mean, at least you're getting other people motivated on it. That's something I should do more. Just because you can always go shooting with friends. A lot of people around here grew up shooting but have not been in a long time because they haven't motivated to do it. It's sort of fun to get people back into it. Sounds like the wind has picked up outside my house. Yeah, I hear you there, Jay Snip. Unfortunately, I don't think anybody is putting too much unnecessary range time in right now. I'm sure there are a lot of people who purchase some guns for the first time or the first time in a long time who are apportioning some of their stockpiled, newly purchased ammo to figuring out what the hell they're doing with it. I've heard a couple funny stories about that lately, but a lot of people are learning the value of a firearm or the perceived value of a firearm. I'm going to chime in here and say I'm currently in the camp of no boogaloo. I've always been in the camp of be competent to carry a legal carry firearm. Always been in that camp because that's just a good thing to have for your own personal preservation. Sometimes humans kill other humans, and I mean, I believe that guns are a good way to prevent that. You guys are welcome to fight me in the comments about that, but I probably won't go too long with you on it because it's just a personal belief system that I have. But yeah. Got them all warmed back up on the M9 and ARs and round two. That's good, Wayne. At least you had them working on it already. There's a lot of people who formerly didn't believe in guns finding a belief, like last couple days. No, you never can be ready enough, Jay Snip, until you have like a underground army with a nuclear reactor and aquaponics set up and everything like that. So one day. I'm gonna go grab a drink. I'll be right back. And you're back with the, I almost just named a big podcast and I realized I don't know. Don't know if you can get striked by acting like you're somebody else. I don't know. Joe Rogan's a cool guy, right? I mean, he smoked a blunt with Elon Musk. And then he talked about frogs with Alex Jones. He's got to be a cool guy. Yep, it's always good to at least put enough rounds through to know that you don't have any weird hangups there, jabroni. I didn't even notice that typo there, Wayne, so you're good. Tatkits. That actually sounds like how somebody with an accent might say it. That's funny, Wayne. Yeah, being able to teach people at least basic gun safety and use can be pretty popular once people realize it, that they want to learn it. Definitely no certified trainer, but I've given a couple people the backwoods rundown on a firearm. I mean, who hasn't had a romantic date out to the quarry? You know what I mean? Yeah, Wayne, are you talking about some extra training there before you go to the cert course? Like tactical Thunder Ranch type training? Oh, okay. Gotcha, Wayne. I've got Boy Scout type not certification, but Boy Scout type qualification to break people into guns. And having taken God knows how many range qualification courses and different types of just safety courses and stuff like that. I've never actually taken the certifier's course, but my God, if I don't know what is said to a person who learns how to take a gun safety course. I even joked about it. Jabroni is like, well, I'll sit outside the store with the shotgun. Don't you guys worry. I think that one might have actually come across in bad taste. But, I mean, we've seen that. I don't know that I would ever want to do that for a job. Like, I mean, ever take arms for a job that wasn't actually meant to be, that wasn't originally part of the job description, like a armored car guy or something like that, armored truck. But yeah, I would definitely hope we don't ever end up with a openly more armed society. Something that I brushed on earlier that I think I segued away from is I'm curious if what it will look like. Let's say, hopefully, things subside, that, it is just a normal odd bug, and whether or not it's going to come back, it pretty much does what it's going to do this year, goes away with summer, whatever. Um, I wonder if all that we're going to see is more control or a loss of freedoms. Because, like I was saying earlier, we've definitely lost some freedoms. We definitely have seen private businesses taken off of the free market by decree, if you will. The state says, close your business up, and I don't really personally know what the consequences would be to businesses who say no. I cannot just close my business because that is my livelihood. I've staked everything on it. And if you tell me to close for a week, I might as well sell everything that's in the store and just go out of business right now, because there's no way. For instance, many restaurants are exactly what's been closed, and they are one of the main businesses started by a small person who's put everything into it, that has an extremely tight margin on any given day. And they're the ones being, just, for one thing, I mean, they're giving away their food. A lot of them are donating it to charity and to people who need it, old people and stuff, and homeless shelters, because they're not going to cook 200 pounds of meat of 3 different varieties or more and all this produce to sell it through the drive-through or with DoorDash, or at all. They've just completely shut down or whatever. So yeah, you see that the government. Okay, thank you, Wandering Ranger. You have a good night. It was great seeing you. Thank you for chatting, and you have a wonderful day. I'll probably be heading out and getting a little bit of nappy time before I start the day that you're already on there, Mr. Cross the Pond. But you have a good one. Good morning. Okay, that's cool, Wayne. Shooting drills and practice the FBI test. That'd be USCA, CCA. Okay. Exactly. They do not have a history of giving control back once they seize emergency power. But even just not that, but just multiple people would probably like to see stricter rationing on paper products. Just different stuff like that. People being more used to I mean, we are all already used to the idea of rationing. I think we know that that's a part of the thing. Some of us have already talked about it in the past, done videos about it. Palmetto did, I know. But it is something that plenty have mentioned. Rationing is something that happens during wartime, especially World War II. Things like that are good examples that rationing can just happen. And that's fine. I think we can all agree that sometimes that needs to happen. But it is interesting to see people's livelihoods destroyed. Some parts of the day, I'm of the camp that I don't think that it's a good idea to have your life sort of a juggling act where even just having your kids not be able to go to daycare might cause a chain of events that causes everything to, not be able to pay for anything at all, kind of thing. I know that that's a tough situation to not be in for the majority of people, but I think that a lot of people don't do what they could to not be in that situation, I guess. Exactly, Wayne. I am a personal responsibility guy too, but at the same time, I'm not necessarily okay with governmental rationing. I'm definitely okay with private businesses choosing to implement it, because that's us policing each other. That's us taking care of each other. That's sort of like if you see somebody in the aisle taking floor, asking them if they really need it, using societal shame to get people to feel wrong for things that they do that are wrong, rather than just standing there and watching people do things that are wrong. I think that a lot of people worry about confrontation, and yeah, it's true. It's not necessarily worth it all the time, but if you see somebody that is not going to pick a, I mean, I'm not necessarily one to turn down the fight, but I'm not necessarily looking to pick them over four things of toilet paper, but a lot of people have said, "Oh yeah, I watched a guy just wipe out a thing of toilet paper or a thing of whatever." Um, I personally am sort of the kind of person to let them know that I scoff at that I have a problem with that or whatever. Not looking to pick a fight or anything, like I say, but um, I'll say that's silly and walk off so that they at least know that someone saw their behavior, kind of thing. A lot of people sort of get away just on the fringe of thinking that people ignore that kind of stuff, and just the knowledge that just the social awareness of it is enough for a lot of people to not do it another time, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be confrontational with it at all, but just watching someone and going, huh, is enough for a lot of people to feel shame, which is not a common sensation for a lot of people, and might be enough for plenty to go, I didn't like that at all. A lot of people are past that, but we can police each other before the government needs to do it. Yeah, exactly, Wayne. I mean, um, for instance, one thing that I think people can keep an eye out for, uh, I saw a woman not, they had capped tissues, and she was just trying to get 3 of the little square boxes of nose tissues. And the lady was like, the lady told her, oh, I'm sorry, we've actually kept all paper products at 1 per person, so I can only sell you 1 of these 3. And the lady said, oh, all right, yeah, no, that's just my normal amount that I need because I always am running, but I understand that. So she gave them back. I purchased 1 of them. I wasn't going to get tissue paper, nose tissues, but I managed to get it for her. It was like $1 something or whatever. And she was still out there loading her car, which is what I was hoping for, and I managed to get it to her. So I think that, like Wayne was saying, just simple stuff like that, making sure that other people, 1 second there. Making sure that other people have what they need. Like Wayne said, splitting it if there are 2. If you do have extra, one of the reasons that I've always prepped is so that I have enough to share, not have it hurt me so much, because I can't help but sharing. It's not virtue signaling or anything to say that. I have always been the kind of person who shared past when it hurt, and I'm just simply aware of that. Yeah, it's more of a selfish thing because I feel bad if I don't. So part of the reason I prep is so that if I do end up giving away stuff to people, I'll still have enough for myself. Because I've always known that we'll all just starve together in most of the really bad situations. But yeah, I mean, if you have more toilet paper than you need for the foreseeable future, you better be sharing that stuff, because there are people who are going without toilet paper, or are pretty soon going to be going without toilet paper. Yeah, and people with kids need more, stuff like that. One thing that I do plan on making a video on is waste. I really hope that people are controlling their waste. I imagine that a lot of people are still allowing themselves to use just as much, and that includes toilet paper. We just are pretty wasteful people who will, if it is more convenient to just throw more at the problem of whatever, water, just sitting there washing your dishes using God knows how many gallons. And I'm talking about myself there. But, why not? It's there. It's cheap. There's more of it. I wonder if people are actually really assessing that now, because, I mean, my family's had the conversation. Don't wipe with more than you need to. which is funny because we are okay. I've got toilet paper tablets and Lord knows how many bed sheets and stuff. I'm not in the least worried about keeping my butt clean. But you know what I mean. I do wonder how many people are like, huh. Well, for instance, leftovers. Is everybody eating their leftovers? Are people throwing away leftovers? I hope no one's throwing away leftovers right now, but you never know. Yeah, Wayne. Yeah, Wayne. I mean, it really depends. Like, I don't know. I'm always on the fence, but I just definitely think that, for instance, myself, if I do buy something any more than the bare minimum, I know that if I do find somebody who needs it, that because it ran out, I'm going to be sharing it. I've bought a couple cases of stuff lately, and it's just, I would feel bad if I knew that multiple families went, or from family went without, just because I went ahead and grabbed two, is all. But, um, yeah, the next guy is just going to come grab five because that's what every other person is doing. And that's just what's crazy is old couples that are buying whole piles. Hopefully, they're buying it from multiple family members, but that is something that I try to remember. Is I have, like I was about to say, I've bought a couple cases of toilet paper, but that's because I was disseminating it to uh, multiple families through the families that my sister's nanny for. So some people are simply the messenger that are picking it up for multiple households. That is one thing to remember when you see somebody stockpiling supposedly a lot. Um, they may be getting it for an institution. They may be getting, like a school or something. They may be getting it for a church charity. You know, I can definitely see a Mormon bishop or church leader going in and just buying a pile of stuff so that they can share it to all their church members just to disseminate it for people who end up needing it. Yeah, Wayne. I was in Walmart just because I got my paycheck and I was getting multiple regular necessities. Uh, and I noticed that they had a TP line set up where they would just let you through once to get 1 4-pack of TP and 1 8-pack of toilet paper towel. And I was like, well, I guess I better get in the bread line. So I went ahead and got my 4-pack of TP. I'm really good on paper towel, so I didn't worry about that. I got some of the cheap stuff that they're letting you get as much as you want of. Uh, but I mostly got the 4-pack of toilet paper because I already gave some of it away at work, for one thing, because I just ended up having that conversation with almost everyone. A couple people mentioned that they were just out of toilet paper, but they were going to go looking for it. So I whipped out a toilet paper roll and handed it to them, and they were very happy to know that they had toilet paper. So that's a pretty cool thing to do. Not like it makes me cool, but it feels fun. It's pretty cool to wipe, hey, look at that. There you go. Um, yeah, like I say, um, we've had toilet paper since before this. I've always had storage toilet paper. We've always been ahead of ourselves, and we've been to the store enough times whenever they had a lot since this all started that we've stayed ahead of ourselves, even with sharing it. So, but yeah, Jason, if it is a disposable mindset, it's just a complete disconnect from the reality of what you really need and what you would. I've always asked myself, and I've never, not always lived by this, but I've often wondered what things, or if I'll ever just regret all the waste, And I'm sure that I will. I'm sure that most possible futures involve us just having much less availability than we currently do. Hopefully not. Hopefully we have nothing but a purely abundant future. But there are a lot of futures where there's just not nearly as much abundance as we enjoy here currently in America. Just the ability to waste large amounts for convenience. And that's not just at home, that's in large industrial amounts, all kinds of ways. But, just looking back, oh man, do you know how much money I spent on random things when I could have still had, when I could have spent it on preps and still had this thing or whatever, I wonder if we will end up missing toilet paper or missing whatever. Yeah, Wayne, that's absolutely true. That is a really good example of a very small. Jason, if it's possible that I'm responding, yeah, there might be a big lag time between when you say something and when it gets to me, and whenever I end up responding it back on, because I am in a third party thing. But I'm also sort of going off on tangents before reading your comments. But yeah, small acts of kindness can really be, like Jay Snip said, affect other people's worldviews. Make them more likely to do the same thing. Because we are herd animals. Just like people are more likely to panic if they see other people panicking, are more likely to panic buy if they know that everybody else is going to do the same thing, so they might as well get ahead of it. When they start seeing people feeling safe and comfortable performing charity, they'll know that it's not all fear and hoarding and stuff. It's starting to be okay to give things away to people and stuff, so that it must not be that bad. So it does have a ripple effect. It does convince other people to do similar things, or at least feel like it's things are better than they were. But like Wayne said, this is actually something that Manifestations of Imagination Reed has made a video about how goodwill, like having somebody who appreciates you, is a very valuable thing in a lot of situations. Just having them knowing that they sort of owe you one or like you for whatever reason, is a very valuable thing in a lot of situations. And Wayne sort of took it to one end there. But yes, it's very true that the difference between them, if in a grid down situation, people have their eye on you, someone who has access to, someone who has it out for you, they happen to know that, they may or may not choose to give you a heads up that someone has it out for you based on whether or not how they feel about you and stuff. So just keeping in people's goodwill, keeping a good social standing with the people around you, is a very valuable thing. And if all that takes is giving away a little bit of toilet paper, then I see that as a very good investment. I keep brushing my microphone off. Sorry about that. Anyways, folks, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here in just a few more minutes. Yep, just like Wayne said, it's about time to hit the sack. I'm going to try to get a few few rest hours before I hop up and do it again in the morning. Another day of fun. It's actually my day off, so hopefully it will be a day of fun. But thank you guys for being here. I'll hang out for a few more minutes. We'll chat about anything you guys have to say before we go. Let me know if you guys have any topics you'd like to see covered soon. If there's anything of particular note, I'll go ahead and write it down. But yeah, I do appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up in a few. But yeah, it's been a really good chat tonight. You guys have brought up some really good subjects and had some really good back and forth. So I appreciate that. But yeah, as for this week, I'm going to be doing the potato cannon. Probably try to do a video with some discussion or some personal thoughts, things to think about, some perspectives. I plan on doing hard cider soon. I've got the gear set up to make some hard cider here at home, so I'm going to be trying that out. Good night, Wayne. Because that seems like a really practical skill to have. Not only now because I drink a lot of cider. I'm drinking a cider right now, but yeah, just as a practical skill to be able to produce something of value, something that you can use medicinally for yourself in a lot of situations. Anyways, Jay Snip, I think it might just be you and me. Looks like we got someone watching, but could be a glitch of the YouTubes. Anyways, anybody watching, Jay Snip, you have a good evening. I'm going to go hit the sack. Don't know what you're going to be up to, but I hope you're well. And I hope you have a good evening, morning, afternoon, whatever it is, wherever everybody is. But thank you for watching. Appreciate you being here. And I hope to see you pretty soon on the flip side. Let's see. I'll give it all a second to catch up so I don't miss anybody there. Sometimes it really does take a second for this to get out to you and the chat to get back to me. But anyways, hope you're doing well. I'm going to go ahead and tap it out. Oh, yep. I still often wonder what happened with OJ, the harmonica guy. But yeah, I mean, I was just raised to be charitable, and I've been I've relied on charity, and I've been in enough situations where everybody was relying on each other to share equally. So it's just almost hardwired in that I just can't go without, with something that I can easily give to someone who needs it, kind of thing. I see the value. It's got a much higher value to them than it has to me. Just can't ignore that. So, but yeah, I mean, I think I appreciate that. I think that's cool that you joined in and stuff. So I've always appreciated your input. I couldn't remember when you joined on, but yeah, I've seen you around for a while, and it's always good to see you. But yeah, he was a really cool guy. He was a very earnest guy, if you will. So I never did hear back from him. I sort of hoped that he would one day find a way to comment on the channel or something and let me know that that's who he was, but it's probably something that's lost to the past. But that is the way that life goes. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. We went ahead and said goodbye to you in the chat there, but I am going to go ahead and tap it out. So, hope you're doing well there. I will definitely see you in the comments here in the future or in the next live stream if you manage to drop in. So, I hope you're doing well, and go ahead and have a good night, morning, or whatever. Yep, thank you. Thanks for the chat. It's been really good. So, yep, you be safe and be good. All right. Well, you have a good one. Catch you later.